Here with Esteban from TOPO Spirits over in Chapel Hill. I'm going to turn things over to him to give us a quick introduction to himself, his experience in this industry, and tell us a little bit about his brand.
Hi, I'm Esteban McMahon. I'm the spirit guide for TOPO Distillery, one of the partners here, and do a little bit of everything here. I'm not the distiller. We've got two distillers here, George and Keith, and basically Scott Maitland and I sort of are the front office guys. We get to do all the fun stuff, all the paperwork, and all that kind of good stuff. I also do all social media, help distill, bottle if I'm needed. We're actually distilling whiskey today, and yeah, so TOPO Organic Distillery started about 4 years ago, and basically it's a spin-off from Top of the Hill Restaurant and Brewery. We became the first micro cannery in 2005, and we're looking to expand the canning operation, or actually just to build a new micro cannery, basically. And we kind of got frustrated that the beer in North Carolina is not really local in the foodie sense, meaning all the base ingredients, the hops and the barley, don't come from North Carolina. So we were kind of frustrated that we'd be sending that money out of North Carolina, and we decided to build, instead of a micro cannery, we decided to build a distillery so we could use North Carolina agriculture products to distill from. So we're 100 miles grain to glass. We're one of 23 organic distilleries in the United States, and we're locally sourced. So all of our wheat comes from a farm in Scotland Neck, about 93 miles away from us, and that's actually very important as well, because the dirty little secret in micro distillation today is about 70% of micro distilleries actually don't even distill. They just have a distiller's license and just buy bulk alcohol from somebody else and just flavor it and call it, throw some apple pie flavor in there and call it Grandpappy's secret recipe, moonshine, or just slap another label on it, and then they'll put funky things like hand bottled in small batches by artisan craftsmen. It's still just basically buying barrels of alcohol from somebody else and diluting it. So we're very proud to be grain to glass and going through the whole distillation process here.
Fantastic. So you guys are the real deal. We'll get into a couple of questions, and I'll let you expand on everything as much as you see fit. And if there's any topics we kind of get on a little tangent into, those are absolutely welcome as well. So the first is if you can just please briefly share your perspective of the craft distilling or small batch industry, when TOPO first, kind of came into conceptualization, or when you guys first started production. And if you can give us a time frame of when this was, that would be great.
Sure. So we brought our vodka and our unaged whiskey, our moonshine, to market in September of 2012, and it's been a huge change since then. I think back then there were maybe 5 or 6 distilleries in North Carolina, and now we're up to I believe we've got 38 members of the Distillers Association of North Carolina. I think we'll probably have about 50 by the end of this year. So it's really growing by leaps and bounds. And the reception across North Carolina and obviously across the U.S. is greatly improved as well. So when I was first going around in 2012 and even 2013, trying to pitch our locally sourced spirits, the reception was not that. I didn't get that much excitement from chefs, which was, I found it kind of weird because we thought that with the growth of the explosive growth of craft beers, that everyone who's drinking craft beers should immediately understand what craft spirits are and be switching over to craft spirits. So you go to a fancy farm-to-table menu, a restaurant, and all the food would be locally sourced, all the beers would be local, and in some cases the wines, they included some North Carolina wines, but all the spirits were just mass-produced from France or Holland or Russia or whatever. And so now you're starting to see that shift over the last year and a half or so. It's been a huge shift from bars and restaurants to try to not just include, but highlight their local spirits.
Awesome. Well, glad it's moving that direction. With that, I think I heard you briefly mention a North Carolina group. Are you guys a member, or are you involved in any trade organizations specifically geared towards this craft industry? And if so, can you talk about your involvement, why you might have joined, and what role is it helping to play in the industry right now?
Sure. So there's a couple organizations that we're members of. The first one's the American Distilling Institute, but it's a humongous organization. It includes grain to glass distillers like us, and it also includes any other person who has a distiller's license. So it's very broad, although they are spinning off to a craft spirit section as well. We're also members of the American Craft Spirits Association, and we are members of the Distillers Association of North Carolina. And actually, Scott Maitland here at TOPO is the current president.
Oh, fantastic. So you guys are bona fide involved.
Yeah. I mean, we don't participate that much in the larger organizations, the ADI and ACSA, but it's huge. Obviously, as far as lobbying power for federal moves, like the move to reduce federal excise taxes on spirits for craft distillers, we need to be able to participate as the biggest group that we can. Obviously, a lot more marketing power and lobbying power in a huge organization. And then we have to do the same thing here in North Carolina. For example, we just got the law changed back in October 1st to allow us to sell 1 bottle per person per year after taking a distillery tour. And so we're very excited about that. So that's what we try to do with all of our lobbying here in North Carolina.
Yeah, so that kind of leads directly into our next question. What are some of the challenges facing your business in this industry currently? And are there things that consumers can do to kind of help advocate for brands like yours?
I think the biggest challenges are just brand awareness. So the difficulty for us is in marketing here in North Carolina is that the rules are pretty strict as far as what you're allowed to and what you're not allowed to do. In some cases it helps us, in some cases it hurts us. So obviously we like to change the ones that hurt us and keep the ones that help us. But biggest challenge is just brand awareness. Most people sort of think, at least in North Carolina, and I think it's pretty common across the country as well, when people go into a liquor store, for the most part, they're not going shopping. They're going to pick up what they've liked and what they want to. They just walk in with that single purpose. So that's why most liquor stores are sort of set up like a grocery store. Instead of having the milk in the back shelf, they put the in the back of the store. They put the vodka in the back of the store, because that's by volume the largest spirit consumed. And hopefully they're trying to get you to look around as you're walking through to the vodka section to buy something else. Now we are seeing some growth, obviously, here in North Carolina. We've got every ABC store has to have a distilled in North Carolina or made in North Carolina liquor section. So that sort of helps, but it all depends on the store manager and how they decide to promote it, whether they put it at the front of the store when you first walk in or whether they stick it on the back shelf.
Right.
So it varies from store to store and board to board. So that's probably the biggest challenge. It's unlike craft beers where people walk into a bar and the first thing they look is a tap selection and say, "Ooh, I haven't tried that. Let me try that." Or you go to say Southern Pines to play around a golf to Piners, and you walk into a bar there. Most Americans now, or a large proportion of Americans now, actually are looking for that local beer to give it a try. And we still don't have that in craft spirits as far as people walking into a bar and trying to look for a craft spirit. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of change. And there's no reason that Americans should be drinking non-American vodka. It's just, we've got plenty of American vodkas that are better than anything produced overseas. Not that there aren't some really good ones as well overseas, but why not keep that money local? And eventually, you should be able to keep that money within your community as well, like in North Carolina, for example.
Sure. So are there any new opportunities that you see for this industry and maybe even your business specifically that you think have yet to be tapped into? Or maybe, kind of thinking forward, what are some of the next big things for craft spirits?
Well, from our point of view, I think we're extremely well positioned for the growth of organics. So organic food and beverage is growing at something like 10 or 12% a year. versus 1 or 2% for non-organic foods. And organic spirits are, I think, the last data that I saw was about 2 years ago, but they're only 0.03% of all the craft spirits, of all the spirits consumed in the U.S. So I think as those millennials hit that liquor buying age and start doing a little bit more research, I think they'll be a little bit more interested in craft spirits and organic spirits, and it shouldn't take much to move the needle. I think obviously there's going to be a growth in craft spirit consumption as well. So we're hitting sort of both of the big growth areas in spirits, organic and craft. And I think also you're starting to get the bars and bars and restaurants that are now looking for spirits that are actually distilled, not just relabeled and bottled by somebody. So I think we'll start to see a lot more of that as well. And once consumers learn how to read the labels and become more educated, then we think that'll continue to grow. So that's one of the things we do here. We do tours most Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And that's some of the many things that we talk about is how to read a label and understand where the spirit's actually distilled.
Fantastic. Talking about that education for the consumer, are there any things that you wish consumers knew about this industry or your brand as compared to national or global brands that they may see more commonly in the marketplace?
Well, yeah, there's quite a few things, obviously. The first thing is just to make sure you're buying something that someone's actually distilling. So look, any label that says produced by, that means they're not actually distilling at all. At least you've got, if it says distilled and bottled by, at least you know they're actually distilling it. Now, they might be distilling it from granular spirits, but we can go into that if you come take a tour. It's a little bit more complicated. But so just look for distilled and bottled by to begin with. And the other thing is the big misconception on how many times is your vodka distilled. So there's sort of a perception out there that the more times you distill it, the better it is. But you really should not be more than triple distilled as a craft spirit, because every distillation run you lose volume, which means you have less to sell, so you got to charge more for it. Every distillation run takes a tremendous amount of time and energy, and every distillation run also is removing organic, so it's removing flavor. So you can over distill something and end up with something very medicinal and astringent. So why would somebody be more than triple distilled? The only reason is because they couldn't afford to buy the right equipment to be able to triple distill it. So I'll show you our vodka rectification column. It's got that's the big tall one there.
Wow.
So that's got 22 distillation plates. So our vodka is triple distilled, fits through a total of 66 distillation plates, whereas somebody might be 10 times distilled, but if all they've got is a pot still, that's the same basically as 10 distillation runs. So 10 distillation plates. So it might be distilled 10 times, but through 10 plates, while we're distilled triple distilled, but through 66 distillation plates. And it's really the distillation plates that allow you to achieve the higher alcohol percentage. So if you're distilling vodka, the one governmental regulation, or one of them, is that you have to distill it up to 95% alcohol by volume. And so the more plates you have, the easier it is to get it up to that 95%.
Any final thoughts on craft spirits that you'd like to share? Maybe any personal perspectives or preferences, or any products that you're particularly a big fan of, and also, you know, don't be shy about letting us know how we can come in and take a tour.
Sure, you can go to our website, topodistillery.com, TOPO We do tours. You can book a tour, and obviously tours most Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. They last about an hour. They're $20, although we usually have some Groupons or Living Social specials running as well. It's a fun tour. You get to taste as well, and you get to be walking through the distillation process. So it's as you can see behind me, we really do have one of the best micro distillery setups in the country, some of the best equipment in the world, and we're distilling some of the best spirits in the world. Our vodka is one of the highest rated vodkas in the world. 5 stars from Paul, a whole bunch of gold medals from different competitions. The gin was only 4 stars from Paul, but we're not a London dry gin, so there's a lot of people who don't like gin. They say they don't like gin, but end up loving our gin. It's a little bit less piney. We explored the other botanicals a little bit more. aggressively. Our 8 Oak whiskey, also a fantastic whiskey, and we're getting ready to release a reserve whiskey, a barrel aged for 2 years. We're going to start playing around with rum, so hopefully we'll have one of the only, if not the only, organic spiced rum and barrel aged rum in about a year, year and a half. And we're just going to keep on expanding and having fun and working on other spirits. Right. So all of our spirits available in most ABC stores in North Carolina. We're also in, I think we're in 9 or 10 states right now, and sent our first overseas order to Japan. So we're now exporting.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Esteban, thank you so much for your time today. If there's any final thoughts you'd like to share, please feel free.
No, just drink TOPO and support your North Carolina craft spirits.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for your time. It was great talking shop with you, and I look forward to sharing a cocktail with you soon.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
All right. Thank you. Take care.